the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia, Honorable Sidi S.K. Njai, the representative of the Honorable Governor of URR, Directorate of Basic and Secondary Education, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, IOM colleagues, Mind Your Language Association and its executive, MAM volunteers here present, Chief of Cantora, the Alcalo of Fatoto, Principal Fatoto, Upper and Basic Cycle, teachers here present, the security personnel here present, parents, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. I would like to express our profound pleasure to collaborate with Mind Your Language Association, this time to conduct such event funded through the MAM project at IOM. Awareness raising is a fundamental drive in creating the much needed awareness and understanding to promote regular, orderly, humane migration, but also to combat irregular migration. It also contributes to enhancing informed migration decision for youth so that migration becomes a matter of choice rather than necessity. Therefore, this event targets students, parents, is quite timely, pertinent, strategic, as the students will soon transition to age category constituting the highest percentage of irregular migration in the region and the country. We commend Mind Your Language Association and its executive for reaching out to IOM once more, and we hope we will see more of these activities and the collaboration in the future. Moving to my task today, to share some migration terms, concepts for informed migration decision. I'm afraid I will not do justice to this because the IOM glossary terms and concepts is 200 pages long. So I have to select certain words that I would share with you. So I will first of all bring in the humanitarian assistance. This is also very important because it's the basis for IOM support to migrants. What is humanitarian assistance? It says aids that address the needs of individuals affected by crisis. In our case, is migrants, stranded migrants, victims of trafficking, and the list goes on. It is the responsibility of the state, but also supported by international organizations, national non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and organizations like Red Cross and the Red Crescent. So the assistance is provided in accordance with the humanitarian principles, particularly principle of humanity, principles of neutrality, principles of impartiality. So when we say this principle, humanity means human suffering must be addressed wherever it is happening, or wherever it is found, with particular attention to the most vulnerable population, such as children, women, and the elderly. So neutrality is one of the principles which says that humanitarian assistance must be provided without engaging in hostile or taking sides in controversies of a political, religious, or ideological nature. Impartiality is providing without discriminating based on ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political opinions, race, religion, etc. So we'll move to our second term, which is migration. I know most of us, we know what migration is, but we'll just go as it is defined by IOM. The movement of a person or group of persons either across an international border or within a state. So migration can happen within our country, for instance, the Gambia, but it can also happen outside the borders of the Gambia, as the drama teams have shown us here. We have learned a lot in defining migration, because in the drama they have shown us they are traveling outside the Gambia to Libya or to other countries to reach Europe. So freedom of movement. So when we say migration, people will say why people migrate. But we want to inform you that there is this right called freedom of movement. A human right comprising of 3 elements. It means freedom of movement and residence within the border of each country. As human beings, we have the right to move anywhere we want. We have the right to reside within any corner of our country. Also, right to leave any country. We also have the right to leave our country to go to another country. These are human rights. And also the right to return to his or her own country. When we go back, we also have the right to come back to our countries. So regular migration, our next term is orderly migration. When, as we have seen here, they have displayed mostly irregular migration. But we will also see what orderly migration is. It says movement of a person from his habitual or usual place of residence to a new residence, in keeping with the laws and regulation of exiting country. So it means when in orderly migration, even when disaster or by conflict or by his own choice or own volition, is still a regular migrant. Okay? So it also says that the length of stay, regardless of the length of stay, is still a migrant. So so we now move to the types of migration. We have a displaced person. A displaced person is a person who flee his or her state or community due to fear or danger. I think this is something that we have just witnessed in Fonyi when these Casamas and the Senegalese forces has an encounter. So you can see most of those people in the Berlin area have to move down inside. So that was an internal displacement. So this is also another form of migration. It could be within a country, but it could also be outside. Okay, and also during the impasse, we have seen the rural area receiving a lot of relatives from the combos. So all these are internal displaced person. So documented migrants, a migrant who enter a country lawfully and remain in the country in accordance with his or her admission criteria. So it's a migrant who has the right document, who has fulfilled all the requirements, all the regulations, and just to enter and to reside and live and stay and work in that country. That is a documented migrant. So we will not have much time. I will have to skip some of these terms. We also have a refugee. A refugee, who is a refugee? A person who, owing to fear of persecutions or for reason of race, religion, nationality, member of a particular social group, a political opinion, is outside the country of his or her own country, or is unable or owing to such fears, is unwilling or to avail himself to the protection of that country. Basically, this is a person who run away because of fear of whatever nature it is, political, religious, ethnic, and then is not ready to come back as far as that situation still persists in that country. Okay? So we now move again to another type of migrant, which is economic migrant. An economic migrant is a person leaving his or her habitual place of residence to settle outside his or her country of origin in order to improve his or her quality of life. So we also have another similar one, which is labor migration. Movement of a person from one state to another within their own country of residence for the purpose of employment, or within their own country of residence, or for the purpose of employment. So these people, they are moving purposely for employment. They only want to work in those countries and then come back. Okay, so I think this is something that we are witnessing in Qatar, in Dubai, in Lebanon. Most people are going there to work as domestic workers, to work as security, to work as in other areas, and also in hotels. So, in addition to some states, labor is addressed by most states in their migration laws. It's something that needs to be addressed by our migration law. In addition, some states take an active role in regulating outward migration. Some states do have laws, policies to regulate people who are going to work outside their countries. I think this is something that Kenya is doing. Between Kenya and Saudi Arabia, they have this agreement. They have this policy where Kenyan can move from Kenya, migrate to Saudi Arabia for work, purposely for work, and they have agreements on that. So this is why we say that some government, they do regulate this outward labor movement. So we also have environmental migrants. Environmental migrants and migrants are person or group of persons who predominantly for fear of sudden or progressive change in the environment or that adversely affect their lives or living conditions, are obliged to leave their habitual home or to choose to do so. Sometimes they are forced to move because of some adverse climatic effects, some adverse environmental effect that has affect their living condition. So sometimes this causes them to move out. They are forced to move, but sometimes it's their own choice to move. So we also have family migration, a general concept covering family reunification, the migration of a family unit as a whole, also related to family reunification, family unity, right to member of the family. So normally we have our brothers and sisters who travel to UK, who travel to America, and sometimes they leave their kids here. And at some point they would like these family members to join them, their spouse to join them, and they follow through, they process that with the immigration authorities of those countries, and if they are permitted, they support these families to join them. And this is something that IAM is doing. IAM also is part of our work. Sometimes we provide escort to these family members who are going to join their families in UK, especially those who are children, minors. Those who are minors, because you cannot allow a minor to travel. So the UK authority entrusted IOM to support this service. So we also have rural migration. I think that one we all know, people migrating from one rural area settlement to another rural settlement. Rural-urban migration is also another form of migration, which I guess we all know. I think this is something that Mr. Drame highlighted as something he's trying to advocate to minimize in the region. People leaving their communities, the rural areas, moving to the urban areas for education, for opportunities, work, and other related issues. So we also have skilled migrants. So this is something that I would like to really advise as young people, as youth. It is very important to have skills. Before you migrate, make sure you have your skills, make sure you have your qualifications, your education, you complete your basic education, you complete your tertiary education, you have the necessary skills. So this helps you a lot. Because what happens is, those who travel, even those who travel irregularly with skills, they normally receive preferential treatment from those countries. So the advice is that definitely it's very important for us to equip ourselves with skills, to also make sure that we complete our basic and secondary education, and if we can to have our tertiary education, and to migrate regularly. So you can migrate regularly when you have certain skills. Okay? So another very important aspect, as we are talking about migration, I will also mention integration. What is integration? Integration is a term used and understood differently in different countries and contexts. Integration can be defined as the process by which migrants become accepted into societies. Like if you travel from the Gambia, you migrate to Europe, and then you reach in Europe, you are able to, you have been accepted. You know, the European accept you. You have been integrated in that society. This is what we are talking about. So, but it has twofold. It means you have to accept the norms and value of that country for you to be accepted first, and also to make sure that the community also, the people in those countries also open up their arms to accept you as a migrant. So this is what we mean by integration. So I will just jump in and go to the consequences. We all know migration has consequences, as some of the drama group have highlighted. Smuggling is something that is happening, and this is defined as procurement in order to obtain directly or indirectly a financial or other benefit of the illegal entry of a person into a state which the person is not a national or a permanent resident. So this one is a crime against the state because you are trying to procure the entry into another state illegally. So it is a crime to the state. So we also have another term which is trafficking in person. Trafficking in person is the act of recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, and receipt of person. They use the means of threat, use of force, other forms of coercion and or abduction, of fraud, of deception, of abuse of power, of a position of vulnerability. So they receive also payment or benefit to achieve the consent of the person having control over another person. So the purpose is generally to exploit, to defraud, and to use the person for organ transplanting, how do we call it? Organ transplanting or whatever it is. So all these are things that happen for this for trafficking in person. They always have an objective, and the objective is always to exploit the person. And this is a crime against the individual, the victim who has been trafficked. So this is some of the consequences of irregular migration. Deception is also one thing that they use. Deception is also something that they use, and then this term is not only referred to the false or wrong information, but also the international abuse of capitalizing on the lack of information available to the migrant. Because the migrant didn't know what's happening there, the migrant is not aware of things that are going there, they'll give you wrong information. So all the smugglers, country of origin, transit, or third country, this is what we call deportation. It's basically what we call deportation. It also happens, people who are forcefully returned. But I just want to clear that IOM is never a member of this. Deportation is done by state. It is only government that can deport. IOM cannot deport. So government have the discretion to deport people that they feel are not worthy to stay or have exhausted their asylum processes. They are normally forced to return. So we also have another concept called protection. The concept of protection encompasses all activities aimed at ensuring full respect for the rights of the individual in accordance with the letter and the spirit of relevant bodies of laws. These are basically the human rights, making sure that the human right of a person is protected and is given to the full. So international humanitarian law, refugee law, human rights and humanitarian organizations conduct these activities in an impartial manner, as I said initially. So it has to be impartial, it has to be neutral, and so on. So we go to our last chapter, which is about return. We normally hear return. That's, we have the term AVRR, Assisted Voluntary Return and Reintegration. This is a administrative, logistic, financial reintegration support to rejected asylum seekers, victims of trafficking in human beings, stranded migrants, qualified nationals, and other migrants unable or unwilling to remain in the host country who volunteer to return to their country of origin. This is what we have been seeing since 2017. We have Gambians, over 6,000 Gambians who have voluntarily returned to the Gambia. So this is one thing that's happening, and then we have been seeing our brothers coming. Okay? So our other term, final term, is reintegration. When these returnees are supported to come back to the country, they are also provided with reintegration. It simply means re-inclusion, reincorporation of a person into a group or a process of, example, a migrant into the society. So there are three dimensions or four. The first one is economic reintegration, and then you have the social reintegration, you have the psychosocial reintegration, and then so on and so forth. So these are the type of reintegration that we have, and we have been providing as IOM in the region and in the Gambia as a whole. So our final term is governance of migration. So it's a system of institution, legal framework, mechanism, practices aimed at regulating migration and protecting migrants. So this is the responsibility of the government to make sure that they have policies they have rules and regulations to govern migration within its country and those living and going to other countries and those in the diaspora. And this is something that IOM, in partnership with the government of the Gambia, have gotten a lot of success. We have gotten a lot of achievement in this, especially with the creation of the National Coordination Mechanism, which is a platform, government platform for coordination of all migration issues with 8 thematic groups that are currently working in the country. And this encompasses all ministries, all government departments who meet regularly to discuss issues that are that pertains to migration and then that's affecting the country and youth. So thank you very much for your attention and for taking your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Panjai of
the principal, Fatoto Senior Secondary School, and other principals here present, representative from the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, representative from the regional office, councillor, Manda Ward, representative of IOM organizations, regional youth leaders, Alcalo and Imam of Fatoto, elders of Fatoto, representative from Fatoto Police Station and Fatoto Military Garrison, distinguished invited guests, my former friend, Vice Chair of Basa Area Council, Mr. Yuba, the members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon to you all. I want to say that it's an honor to be here upon the invitation from the Mind Your Language Association to come and deliver a statement on the topic, the importance of unity. I'm indeed honored to be invited to this 5th annual Mind Your Language anniversary taking place here in Fatoto Upper and Senior Secondary School in the Upper River region. Before I proceed, allow me to register my profound gratitude and sincere appreciation to the executive and entire membership of Mind Your Language Association for the laudable initiative to assist our youth in language proficiency. I have no doubt that this initiative has already started paying dividends. My task this afternoon is to speak about the importance of unity in nation building. This topic is very apt as we came out from 2 very important and well-contested elections, the presidential and national assembly elections, and despite our differences and political affiliations, what is important and worth noting is that we are all Gambians and the interest of the Gambia is paramount. The President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, and in his swearing-in message emphasized the need for tolerance and unity among Gambians. He noted that it is only through unity that we can register progress in sectors of our development. Today, after this convergence, I'm hoping for a change in our view of each other, our community, and our country as a whole. There are billions of people in this world, millions within our nations, each with uniqueness and opposing views on fundamental aspects of life, including religion and politics. Normally, these similarities create divisions and occasional conflict. However, we tend to forget that we all have one common code, that is the betterment of our country and its people. This is what brings forth unity. Opposing views are acceptable. It is quite easy to agree with others, but it takes real strength and courage to respectfully disagree. We truly gain more from unity among opposing views, as there are twice as many opinions. Of course, there are 3 times as many skills, 4 times as much information, 5 times as many opportunities, and so on. We learn about extended experiences, values, and traditions. This means that the most uniting forces are not laws, constitutions, organizations, roads, or buildings, both people and their willingness to unite. One people, one nation, one destiny means that Gambia is an independent nation, but we are not independent of each other. It takes unity despite opposing views to run your household, to take your business functions, to create programs, to teach each schools. So why should we expect any less from a country and its people? Successful entities hire people with different specialties, different backgrounds, different kinds and levels of education, and with all that diversity, it thrives. That's the beauty of unity and diversity. I can safely say that without unity, there is no growth, integrity, freedom, and definitely there is no patriotism and peace. Education, something that doesn't always happen in a classroom, is always the answer. That's why forums like this are very important to preach peace and unity. Many times, basic interactions generate massive educations, allowing differences of opinions, clearing of misconceptions to be respectfully expressed, while riding discomfort, judgment, and stigma. Removes inequalities and other social issues like racial discriminations and gender disparity while promoting unity. The Gambia, we are internationally admired for our racial and cultural diversity, yet these are just a few of the factors which sometimes divide us. No team has ever won a game without team spirit and unity. We want our football teams to excel, yet we don't independently or severally practice what it takes for our country to win. Don't just appreciate everyone's ideas and opinions, validate them, unless they are directly causing harm. Not doing this will result in underachievement on both ends as it closes the possibility to open and honest communications, essential in unity. This creates a solid foundation which can actually rid crises, economic deficiencies, illiteracy, poverty, and a wide range of other social ills. It also promotes not only the social, but also the country's economic and political development. Remember that helping one another ensures that no one is ever left alone in a diversity. Unity equals good guidance, proper growth, and true development. It provides a constant source of positive motivation and greater accomplishment. While many factors contribute to the overall development of a country, national unity is the most vital. My advice is that let us stay together and help support one another in times of diversities and privileges. Unity is strength, and united we stand, divided we fall are common phrases and are true to their very word. Can we really love a nation without loving all its citizens? The Gambia is a society with diverse ethnic groups with differences in culture, tradition, norms, and customs. We must therefore promote unity, peace, and love among ourselves as a nation. Unity gives people a sense of security, for they are able to interact with each other better and understand each other's sensitivity. Unity promotes cooperation and opens opportunity for excellence. And that's important note. I want to conclude with this quote from Abraham Lincoln, former President of the United States of America, who once gracefully said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." Therefore, when we stand in unity, we stand to achieve all. I want to congratulate the Manual language and wish you all a successful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Secretary, Minister of Basic and Secondary Education. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Permanent Secretary and in the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, and on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, who was cordially invited to grace this occasion, but based on based on missions that are beyond her, she was not able to come here because it coincided with her earned leave, which is currently going on now. So I would like to start by recognizing the presence of the Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia, Mr. C.D. S.K. Njai, and also the representative of the Regional Education Office, Region 6, and also the security here represented in the Upper River region, the media fraternity, and also students of Fatoto, upper and senior secondary schools, and the cluster, as well as parents here represented. I would first start by encouraging the collaboration, the cordial collaboration that has long been going on between the Mind Your Language Association and the IOM organization, which has, over the time been very rewarding and fruitful. And their participation in the organization of this program has always been yielding fruits. And it has gone to the level where, not only on issues relating to migration, but also academically, it helps in the extracurricular activities of the education sector. To the parents now, their participation here is very, very important, as it shows that they have that concern of their children's schooling at heart, because the issue of education is everyone's business, as it is being said. If you think education is not your business, go to the hospital and find a doctor who is not well trained and let him operate you, and you find out that good education is good. But when a qualified doctor operates you and you regain your health, then you will value the value of education. That's what you will respect. Now, IOM is talking about migration. Migration now is not only about movement of people in and out of the country, but also internal migration. Internal migration has its education factors, as initially, because there were less higher or upper basic schools, people have to be forced. We have both the push and the pull factors. Some people have to go to the campus because that's where those schools are. So that's the pull factor, is that because they have to go to campus to further their education. Now, education and the government has ameliorated now by building schools in the regions where there will be less of the need for the kids to move to the campus or any other place to seek for further education. In the same way, the establishment of the Gambia College Expansion Project in Basi also has gone a long way in further ameliorating the movement of even teachers. The lack of teachers that has been an issue in this region has now been curtailed to a larger extent. In one of his lectures, our good Professor Fall, in his lecture on the meeting on the migration and sustainable development, said there was a group of professors who were taking bath in shallow waters. Imagine professors taking bath in shallow waters. And at some point, a group of students came. You can imagine when students came, when their professors had and Sudafun sees their professors naked. So what happened? The reaction of most of the professors is, they rush to cover their crotches. Like obviously, if somebody sees you naked, the first concern is to cover his crotches. But this particular professor covers his face, and left everything else open. So after the event, when he was asked, why is it that everybody else is covering his private part, you instead you cover your face? He said, there is always not one solution to a problem. To me, the students know every professor's face, but they don't know the crutches. So he covers his face because they will see the other part, but they will not know who the person is. So there is always an alternative to every situation. Minor language has initiated this approach to extracurricular education, and it is being emulated by other regions and clusters. But I think with the ones I have attended, Fatoto have shown that they are still the flag bearers, because the level of organization and the support that is being given by the stakeholders is still in the lead. So on behalf of the Permanent Secretary and the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education and the Regional Education Director by extension, I would like to encourage the management and staff of the Minor Language Organization to continue the bilateral partnership that has been going on between them and the Migration Organization, IOM, to continue for the betterment of education in the region. I thank you all for your kind attention.
A round of applause.
Though the deputy speaker have left, I would like to recognize the president. As he said, he called me as an old friend. I don't think the deputy speaker should have an old friend. Friend is a friend. So he's my friend, and he still remains my friend. I also want to recognize the education fraternity from the ministry down to the regional level, up to the school level. And equally to recognize the security, students, parents, teachers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to register my honor and appreciation to the Manual Language Association for inviting us to come and grace this occasion, equally to give us a speech. As I said, the chairman was giving a speech which is the importance of girls' education. I don't want to elaborate more into saying the importance of girls' education, because I believe efforts have been done, sensitizations have been done in that regard. Laws have been passed, policies have been made. I believe the fundamental problem now is not advocacy, it's the implementation of the laws and the policies. There is no disagreement into saying whether the education of a girl child is important or not. We all know it's important. But as a society, we have a problem. We have a problem that women are deliberately excluded in all sectors of life. That is the problem. And this problem, we should also deliberately include them. Otherwise, nothing will change. When I talk about, to include them deliberately, I mean they need special treatment. We need a radical shift because we took a conscious decision as a male counterpart to exclude female. Now we need a radical approach, to include them, with a special treatment. We, as a country, I believe we can agree that we have equal opportunity. Everywhere you go, there are schools built, teachers are there, students are there. But the problem is we don't have equal conditions. And that equal conditions should be addressed. If we want to promote girl-child education, we need to improve the conditions as well. Looking at our area, people who live in this up country, in the rural area, in some communities, students trek 5 kilometers through a forest to go and attend their junior and senior school. Those are conditions that need to be addressed. In some communities, because of the domestic workforce at their level, is not giving opportunity to girl child to attend their education. So, we as a local government, we as a government, we have a very big role to play in addressing this issue. If we want to promote child education, particularly girl child, we need to, do a deliberate assessment into knowing what are the hindering issues that are keeping them not, attending their dreams in terms of having quality education. I will use this platform also to advocate for the, changing of our curriculum as a country. I believe we need to decolonize this education system that is being introduced by our colonizers. Because we cannot be having an education system whereby we only come to school to learn how to speak good English. And be proud that because we are able to speak good English to one another. That is not education. Education is beyond that. We need to decolonize this system that we are having. We need a life skill knowledge from primary level, whereby students can gain skill from their primaries. We cannot build a nation with English language alone. We can only be good speakers, politicians who can speak well and be a good lawyers to interpret the law. Apart from that, we cannot create anything. 57 years after independence, toothpick we cannot create, we cannot manufacture. Nothing absolute in this country. Everything that we are consuming is being imported to this country. And we are building schools. We need a deliberate action into decolonizing our education system from this old system that we are having as a country. When I talk of prioritizing women, I mean giving them a special scholarship by the state or local government. As we speak, I can speak on behalf of council. At the same time, I can speak on behalf of the government. There is no special scholarship to address this issue of girl-child education. And if we are to be serious with girl-child education, after knowing all the importance, because I'm not here to speak about the importance, we all know what importance are to educate a girl-child. So let us move, because every stage we must, have a system whereby we can say today we are here stage 1, now we are in stage 2. The stage 2 is we should start the implementation. Let the local government create special funding, as a deliberate move to support girl-child education. This is what we are asking for from the local government. Let them also look into their conditions. Though we can say we have free education, there is no school fees. But we are forgetting that coming to school, you need to buy books. You need to have learning materials. You need to buy uniform. Are we providing any special learning material to girl child in order for them to do their education as expected, to gain what they want to gain in the field of education? No. These are some of the things that we need to talk about now. So in that regard, I would like to stop here on my speech, because I don't want to give long speech on this one. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us here today to come and give a statement. And unfortunately, I did not prepare any speech to come and give because I was lately informed to come and represent the chairman. But this is the small token I have for you to share with you, in supporting girl education. Thank you.
Round of applause.